The entire Pokemon franchise has been in a very strange spot over the course of the last couple of years because honestly, it feels like the community has become so incredibly toxic. And sadly, this includes myself. I want to just start this video off and be very blatantly clear. I did not enjoy Pokemon Let's Go. I did not like at all Pokemon Sword and Shield, but I still wanted to go into this new game, Legends Arceus, and see if it could be something that could impress me. If this could be that fresh take on Pokemon that could make me love the series once again. And honestly, this game rocks. I enjoyed literally every single second of this game, but I want to talk about the goods and the bads, just to see what's best about the future of Pokemon itself. What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here. Now, I want to start things off just as positive as possible and check out what's been changed for the better to a dramatic degree. This is a very strange game because it's sort of a prequel of sorts. It takes place in the ancient past. You're playing as a modern day kid, somebody who definitely exists in a reality where he already knows and loves Pokemon, but now he's been thrown to an era that's similar to feudal Japan. He's sort of running around in an era before people were just Pokemon trainers. So that means that while you're roaming around in these environments and capturing Pokemons and taking them back to the lab to be reported on, everything is brand new science. Even the Pokeballs themselves that we're throwing at these people are completely new technology during this era, but thankfully you're not completely unequipped. For some reason, God has given you a cell phone. That seems like the weirdest sentence I've ever said, but yes, God for some reason gave you a cell phone and sent you to the past to help spurn the discovery of Pokemon and people forming the partnerships that exist today. Now, what's great about this game is that more than anything else, it makes the very, very important changes that the Pokemon series needed. I want to start things off by talking about the general flow of how these new battles work. You see, these have always been turn-based RPGs. They're games that are based on elemental systems, the typical thing where like electric hurts water, water puts out fire, ice gets burned by fire. It's the typical elemental charts that you're used to, but what makes this better is that now there is a strength system built into this. Say you have something like a Bidoof. It's this weird looking squirrel looking dude, he's like a beaver on crack. Well, the Bidoof himself, he's very, very strong, but as you level him up, he's going to get abilities like tackle, quick attack, or bite. Now, the more you use these abilities, you eventually do a thing that's called mastering it. By leveling up, by practicing these skills, you unlock an additional ability, which is basically doing a separate style of attack. Now, whenever you use tackle, you could do something like an agile attack, which is faster, it's done more often, or a strong attack, which is slower. It makes it where you can only just do one or two every big fight, but it's going to do a lot more damage. These sound tiny, but they fundamentally change the entire nature of combat because in these fights, there's a lot of situations that can get messy. There's times where you're trying to sneak up and attack a really big Pokemon, which we're going to talk about the boss fights in a bit, or there's just situations where you're outnumbered. There's multiple of these butt-faced Pokemon trying to take you down at once, and it feels good to try and land one giant super attack before they take you down. This system of not just elements, but having these different styles of agile or strong attacks really make the game feel much more playable and much better overall. This feels like a new generation of Pokemon. And also, let's talk about how people call this Breath of the Wild Pokemon. This is a very, very open world. There's freeform camera, you can turn things wherever you want, and this includes the fights themselves. Even during combats, it does not have a load screen. You walk up, you initiate a battle, it instantly goes to it, and there's just straight into the action. You can wander around freely during fights, you can pivot the camera to see things from any angle you want. Style like this is just so delicious. I like Pokemon. I grew up specifically playing hundreds and hundreds of hours of Pokemon Red and trying to catch them all, and I really appreciated that almost sense of like, this felt like a world that I could step into. I wanted to participate in the Pokemon world. This finally gets back to that. Being able to explore, to ride on Pokemon, to jump over rivers or fall into streams, or sometimes just getting on a gigantic Pokemon that can dig up up treasure. It is crazy how much they've managed to make this a Breath of the Wild style Pokemon. This is all I have ever wanted. But let's talk about the other aspect of this that's kind of fun, which is how you can level up. Now, in the older Pokemon games, the only way you could get experience points was by winning fights. You had a particular Pokemon that was strong, you'd go out there and you'd best battle. By doing this, that individual Pokemon would get slowly strengthened and leveled up, raising their stats, getting new abilities, and eventually evolving into more powerful forms of it. Well, all of this has been so efficiently redone. In this game, it does have EXP share, which means that whenever you win a fight, every Pokemon in your party also levels up. But this also goes for capturing Pokemon. So if you want, during your course of your studies, you can just go out there and sneak attack Pokemon, throwing Pokeballs, dodging attacks, or just straight up trying to just go up behind somebody and throw the biggest, heaviest Pokeball you can and capture them outright. It feels so much better to have this system where you're getting experience points as part of the scientific endeavors. Now, this also goes for the side quests. These are called requests, and they're sort of all over the place. Now, whenever you're going around, because this is the feudal age, everything is still being developed. The base camps, the environments, the temples and stuff like that, everything is still kind of being fleshed out by the people who have sort of just shown up to this area. They actually talk about the fact that despite the fact that these buildings look nice and fresh and new, that's because they've been thrown up very, very recently. Well, what's interesting about this is that during the course of the town, people need your help. These could be tiny things like people asking for a couple extra berries to try and use as a medical solve, but people will also just ask you to capture a Pokemon 10 times to master it in the Pokedex. Now, I do want to make it a point to say that these requests are optional. They're things that I feel like could be just skipped completely, but you're probably going to need to do them because there is some forced leveling systems in this. Essentially, throughout the chapters of this game, you have this ranking system where basically, as your Pokedex levels up, it unlocks the next area, the next zone, or the next boss fight. Now, these are not optional. Essentially, what happens is that you have to report your findings. While you're going out there and trying to practice your capturing skills or unlocking new elements and stuff like that, you have to report back to the professor named Lavender, and he basically records that data. I'm somebody that plays a lot of different styles of RPGs, so this particular style of like forced leveling to me is not a detriment. It feels like it kind of makes you explore those zones a little bit more. It makes it so you can't just speedrun the game itself. You can't just rush from one area to the next. You have to be properly leveled up, properly trained, and properly prepared for that next big boss. Now, there's two different styles of major enemy that you're going to be seeing here that I don't want to spoil too much, but I do want to show you some specific examples so you sort of get an idea of what makes this game feel so different. Now, a lot of times when I think of Pokemon, I think of things like gym battles, which is in the older games, that was basically where you'd go to a big building that had a particular elemental specificity. So if you'd go to the water gym, it was usually a bunch of people trying to throw out, weird fish Pokemon and stuff like that you need to fry for dinner. Well, in this time, there are no gyms, and instead, everything you're going to be dealing with is big, hefty Mega Pokemon. Now, Alpha Pokemon are ones that have red eyes and are particularly strong, but they're basically just like major, strong, normal Pokemon on steroids. The special ones, the Mega Boss fights, are called Noble Pokemon. Now, these are typically weird events that require you to do some special, specific stuff in order to win their trust or lower their guard enough to get them on your side. Now, these events are very heavily scripted in their own way, but I still think that they're very cool. I guess it gets me more invested in the idea of this Pokemon world when I'm trying to do things that help the people or get these big Pokemon on my side. I dig what they're trying to do with this, but there is one giant drawback that's going to be very, very pervasive throughout the entire experience, which is the very, very shockingly bad visuals. I cannot overstate this. The graphics in this game are so subpar it is shocking. There's terrible pop-in. There's low-resolution character models all over the place. There's unreadable font on some stuff. And worst of all, if you actually decide to walk onto any hill, it is a ridiculously primitive version of the world. This map is at times just hilariously bad. Like, I'm not sure how the Pokemon Company, which is worth tens of billions of dollars, literally, makes a game that looks this terrible. Like, I'm tired of the excuses people make for Pokemon, saying, oh, well, it's just a tiny team, or, oh, it's supposed to look like crap. Okay, you can do better. The combat system is fantastic. The sound effects are fantastic. This music is just so breathtaking. And yet you make a map that has repeated water effects where it looks like you can see the straight up the game engine skipping over and over. I've even had weird glitches where I'm looking at grass and the grass is teleporting around. How does this happen? I don't want to be that guy. What in the hell happened during development where you couldn't get standard grass to move appropriately? This is ridiculous. Now, I'm not going to be a jerk and pretend that this is just the worst thing ever or completely breaks the experience. I guess the way I feel about it is that even though I'm having so much fun, even though I'm really enjoying seeing these different biomes and environments and Pokemon just popping out, my issue is that I wish they had just done better. If Pokemon Legends becomes a separate series and we keep getting these big open world style games, or if maybe this takes over in the next generation, the Gen 9 of Pokemon, if it plays in this style, please give it a proper development team. That way you can avoid these weird cosmetic errors that frankly absolutely suck. I'm having a lot of fun with the game itself, and I do recommend you play it, but it's difficult for me to put a score on it because I haven't beaten the game yet. I've only gone about 10 hours into the game itself, and so far, it has been an absolute blast. I can see myself putting, 20, 30, 50 hours into this easily, just trying to track stuff down. I'm not sure I'm going to try and catch them all, but maybe that bug will bite me. Maybe I'll get back invested into the idea of being the complete Poke-addict that I once was. Well, what do you think about Pokemon Legends Arceus? Maybe I'm not even pronouncing that right. Is it Arceus? Well, I'm sure everybody in the comment section will tell me and correct me with very kind language. I love you guys very much. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a giant thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. I can't believe how much they managed to get right. I mean, tip of the hat. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.